Okay, so hello everyone. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the countless shores we've sailed by or passed behind our eyes. And so we find ourselves in a moment of our existence. Every person positioned as if they are stationed to maintain a part of reality. And so the task falls of what can we truly speak about in this world. This is a very, one of those questions that changes through the years, its answer kind of matures. And so as the current model of the human being I am, I wanted to speak about the countless shores. And really what I can speak about is I cannot speak about 100% reality. And I cannot speak about the 100% unknown. And as a human on earth, I ask myself, what am I left with? And it is to share with you the findings of my sight so far. You see, it's a matter of what am I while I am being something. More than life is about absolute ownership or the invisible ownership of the visible, which at some point becomes important, but I don't think at first. I think it's all about what kind of world you are contacting as a human being in the world, and how much you're aware that you are self-simulating reality, and how much of it is that which is different than you. The whole point of the world and the self is this contrast. It's the contrast between what you are and what is there. Okay, what is there is always more fascinating than the person. See, I don't want you to think I'm like a bird that is not sitting on a branch. I am sitting on I have fly to a specific branch, and I do have a specific way I acknowledge reality. But more than it's like do the right thing and you'll end up in the right place, it has changed for me. And sorry guys, there's construction going on here. I can't do anything about it. These are the sounds of your world. I would say it like this, that everybody's on their own branch of existence, but we as human beings do have the ability to fly into the sky and see the whole forest and not to just be defined by a branch of a modality of being. I simply want to just bring to the human attention that the way human beings seem to be experimenting things is being like, okay, what do we have? And when it comes to wondering about the depths of yourself, what you actually are, little did I know that I thought myself was like this individualistic thing. That's kind of strangely like a myth. Really, what I find is actually happening on this planet is that the environment simulates your options. And human beings have been born with different environments for their consciousness to engage the geometry of their moments. This is something that goes beyond class and culture. It goes to a point where it's as if everybody is equal when it comes to how an awareness is and there's an intelligent interaction of an awareness with content. I'm just that human being like, all right, if we want to take the simplest example of a person, okay, what is the person influenced by and what can the person do? And when I look at my own life, you know, there was a time where I thought trying to find a complex version of myself was the right approach. Little did I realize it is much simpler than that. And I find, honestly, life has elevations, and it's like games. So it's as if this life was a video game. There are legit human beings on this planet, beings that have even been on this planet, that have had an awareness that is a completely different conceptual position of being. For me, I was like, okay, the issue is on the macro. Everybody's trying to capture the world in a narrative that is accurate. That has been one of the most primitive and important tasks of mankind. We have been searching for truth, and the search for truth is a great response to epistemic entropy. Which means that over time there will come disorder in systems of knowledge, and truth will be forgotten, and the simulated will worship the simulated. This world is too vast, unknown, and surprising to be just limited to the human mind's driving. You see, for me, it's kind of like, what is driving yourself, like your view on you. But what is driving the world, that force, it reaches a point where you begin noticing, just like if you open the door, let's say old school, like to get your newspaper, and you saw a giant passing by, just, you know, it's as if you see something that is beyond you in size. And it's more of a fascination of how to coordinate yourself to it rather than trying to be it. That means if somebody says, Mr. Within, are you religious, spiritual, what are you right now? I would tell you, I realized that it's not about knowing truth only, like in regards to knowledge. It's not about just knowing how something works. It's about the practical engagement of it. This is the hard truth of anything, really. That one, on some level, you have to subjectively acknowledge it. That's easy. Subjectively wonder, but then there is the whole living through actualization of it. What I'm trying to tell you is that a human being has a type of intelligence that it is experiencing subjective reality faster than objective reality. And because the speed of the subjective life is faster than our objective life, all of objective reality is pulled by its momentum. So in some sense, it is like the search of meaning. Many people have wondered what is meaning really? What does a human being do once achieving some victories on this earth? You at some point begin asking the deep questions. And the deepest questions tend to be context shattering. Like, we have to understand, at least so far, how it's being explained. I'm trying to tell you that the human species is a type of species that is indirectly acknowledging the subjective life that is directly influencing it. We are living in a fascinating time. There's so many things that are fascinating about this life. You can envision something fascinating that will happen in the future, like sky cities rising into the air. And then you can at the same time become fascinated by where you've started, and how the depth of how you've understood how you've started is different. What life is actually, it's an information collection game. The way the brain works is with pattern recognition. Really, people, if they don't constantly try new patterns, they repeat the previous patterns. I've noticed this in myself. I'm a type of person who, when I would go to a coffee shop, like every day, I would be, not at the same time, but I would always be in that same spot ordering the same drink. And then I realized, of course, because the brain patterns have been made over this event. It's like events that experiences we have not had are like unregistered events for the consciousness. I cannot ignore this like the rest of everybody, unfortunately. Sometimes you find yourself in moments in life where, you're not the black sheep. You realize you're in a bird that belongs to a different sky. You're the bird of a different sky. What that means is that your attention has a familiarity with the unfamiliar in a way that is not sensible, in ways that the human being can understand. What the human being is a state of projection. I'm not trying to be like, deep about this. It legit is a projected state. how many different, like if you ask the average person, have you lived more behind your eyes or in front of it, the answer has to be behind. In reality, there's one way the moment can happen, but before the moment happens, the brain can simulate various moments, therefore suggesting attempts at living. What thinking is you're living, trying to live the moment ahead of the moment. For me, the countless shores that I believe we all have sailed by, it's pretty much how our attention has been sailing through this manifestation and all the different types of reality, and also even the awareness and understanding of what is causing things to be different in reality. Is it emotions that, or is it in some sense ideas? Like sometimes it's fascinating to wonder, what if every person on the planet had the same idea? What if they all had the same emotion? You know, why is it like flowers in a garden have awakened to how they're all conscious flowers rather than just, you know, everything having to be one type of flower? For me, all of metaphysics and everything, this whole ordeal of what do we do with the deeper dimensions of life, it has come down to the recognition that what moves power. You know, they make you think like knowledge is power, resources are power, status is power. I don't think that's it. I think that we've all opened our eyes in a simulation of sorts. And in this place, we have to ask ourselves, do we have the courage to wonder about the uncharted territories of mankind? This is not like, I'm not telling people to go and become an explorer of the unknown, but I'm saying that at some point, I don't know, but I think this is the way to go, where you have to be able to, just like that metaphor of the a bird or the eagle can land on a branch, look at things like that, or it can fly into the sky and see the whole forest. Okay, let me say it this way. It's as if the first is to, the way that people are open their eyes to this world is a bit different than how I find it. The way it goes is, to me, it's at first, you are preoccupied by yourself. So like a chunk of life, human life, is going to stepping out of one's own self simulation. You know, those people who are like, yo man, everybody lied to me in the past, everybody didn't say this. It was all about, you know, holding on to the self simulated. It's at first your attention is on yourself, you're obsessed with yourself, and then you begin to notice the limits of yourself. Then you begin to realize the limits of yourself. Then you wonder, then you become fascinated by what you're not seeing about this picture rather than what you've seen repetitively before. And you pretty much wonder what different ways can moments manifest. That is pretty much life. There's like 3 stages. One, you have knowledge of what is truly going on here. Then you can see what is truly going on here. Then you have become what is actually going on here. All going from levels of where the self-simulated can't accept to levels where the self-simulated surrenders. And at some point you wonder about the world you were in before you painted it in a certain way, before you held it in meaning in a certain way. And you will come to the realization that it's like this space, that any concept is projected there is treated as like absolute. I'm trying to say that what the title is trying to say is that there is a richness to your mind, to your intelligence. It's something that you own in a certain state of consciousness. After certain states of consciousness, it just doesn't belong to anything anymore. So I find that the most important thing, this is my realization. Like if somebody's like, all right, man, you're alive now in this world, what are you striving for deeply, like deep down? I've come to the realization that this is a simulated system. I've come to the realization the intelligence of it is not just limited to human beings. I've come into the realization that like those in the know are not playing a game of physical acquisition. They are playing a game of what sort of moments do they cultivate. It's the quality of the moments that's more of a priority to beings that compared to what just a being has. You see, it's the nature of why you're manifest, like whoever you are, regardless of your persona and all that. You're an energetic. You're a part of existence happening. Now you happen in many ways to yourself. You have been happening in many ways to yourself. And we have to come to terms with how life is a deeper mystery. It's not like something that should have an answer, and if it's not the right answer, everybody's wrong. It's more a matter of what have you noticed here. And pretty much you want to see original source code. We're all here waiting for truth that is waiting for itself. Anybody who thinks spirituality is equivalent to superhero movies, I'm telling you, it's a different thing that's going on. The point of life is not the human being. The more advanced the human being becomes, it's not like their basket that they filled up like to the max. It's more like how do you sync with that era in of history you have existed in? What is the greatness of human attention? What is the total value? Subjectively, it could have so many different ways reality can have value. I'm trying to just share one human being's experience of the nature of human intelligence. The way I find it is that our attention provides the opportunity for presence. More than reality is something. Reality seems to be a process that is held in a certain way. At first, you think you're holding your reality, then you begin to realize no, your reality is held in a much more greater event. That means the major difference between, I would say, religious and non-religious people is that religious people believe that the event that is going on is important in a much more grander way. You're either living in the presence of the ultimate or you're not, and you should, because you find yourself still in a world where our ancestry managed to pass down the torch, and the torch, the most important torch to be passed down, is the realization that man can establish a direct relationship with the original source of all power of his realm. This is not to entice your ego towards power. You need to forget about power, because there are powers beyond the powers you can even imagine to wield. You're in a world where there are positions of intelligence, there are beings of intelligence. Your attention is found able to access the original. Do you understand? If life was a test, it's a test of looking at simulated beings, wonder about if there is something beyond the simulated, and if there is, to truly connect that which is beyond the simulated or the fathomable, one has to, in some sense, become unfathomable. But you can't just become unfathomable, so the ancient process of it has been simplification. You pretty much become the simplest type of being you can be, and then you consciously witness the complexity be added. Anyways, your mind has an ability to envision multiple realities at the same time. Just like how there's different numbers, different letters of the alphabet, different words, your ability to distinguish things from one another. All right, guys. Okay, guys, to continue. Sorry, there was a phone call in the middle of this. I'm trying to say there's the countless shores you've sailed by, passed behind your eyes. It's just a suggestion that, like, look at all the subjective landscapes you've been through, and look at the objective landscapes you've been through. And really, the challenge of being a human being on Earth is to figure out what's going on. And when we go to figure out what's going on, there's something deeper beyond the human grasp going on. So man is left in a position of not ignoring the intelligence of his world, so he feels he's the superior intelligence, but to actually be fearless when it comes to the actuality of things. Human beings obviously are designed so that in some sense there could be a calculation prior to action. Like, that's obvious. We've been designed to calculate. Now the issue is when it comes to macro questions on life. It's like the more you know, the more unknown reality actually is. There is a higher power here. My aim, my realization has been that we all are in a simulated zone, testing zone, and to go move beyond this simulated testing zone, we will inevitably come to the conclusion that we cannot find or label that power that is animating everything instantly. Man reaches a point where even this is the ego's biggest fear, that the story of what it is doesn't make sense. People need to make their stories of their life make sense. But the meaning is deeper than the agreement of a bunch of creatures on, like, symbols and language. Wondering about the depths of what this truly this event of being in a world is, to realize that we can't ignore how we're all beings, and beings, something's going to happen to everything that's being. And what is the value of being here? I think 90% of the human species, believe it or not, is more in a viewing and not doing anything rather than doing something and also having that view, right? We have to snap out generations of beings from the belief that what they see is the only thing that's there. Like, that's ridiculous. We must be fearless. There needs to be obviously a percentage of the population that maintains the norm, and then a percentage of the population who has to get bored of the norm in order to update it. Boredom is a sign that something needs to update. It's the presence of our attention in the world that we're in. And there's a system admin behind it, and you first figure out, like, there is, you come to actually know, okay, there's a system admin here. And then the next thing is, in everything that happens in life, you're beginning to not see people anymore. You're beginning to see this, how the people's behavior originates, and when you see it, you'll be astonished. It's not that it's like an engine or something starting from A to Z. It's not chronological, it's instantaneous. The thing about this world is that we are inside a commanded world. Do you know what that means? That means natural law has limits. There's a hyperdimensional command. It's as if the code is written in ways that this manifestation does not satisfy. So the mysteries of reality are greater than what we know. What we know is human self-simulation activity. We have to have the ability to see beyond this. You know the system admin, then you see the system admin, then what you become is not dependent on you anymore. I think the human life is like a station where it's a lift-off point from a sort of individual bubble of meaning to a realization that it's a grand happening. It's not like some spherical noun. It's a river-like verb. It's a grand movement. Things have been coded. Things have design. They have shape. They have color. They occupy space. There is space. Things change in space. There is time. Time gives the ability of the mind to take a snapshot of what it sees physically, and then the moment it can change it into different variations or compare two different snapshots, infinity is born instantaneously in the subjective realm. It's the ability to wonder, and wonder means you look at space and then content is found in it. This is why, like, explorers have the smartest job. This ability to discriminate between what is subjectively real and what is objectively real, and how reality is, and the state of it, how attention, is stationed in being. And just your whole life, you've been in attention sailing through different shores of realities. It's all about what sort of intelligence you interact with, really. Anyways, I hope this lecture was interesting. Thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful.